Hey guys, welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel, whichever the case might be. If you are a regular viewer, you might be a little bored with this video. It's going to be very basic and very elementary in nature. I'm going to try and be very specific and focused on simply the rules of gun safety. And I'm targeting the audience of brand new gun owners. So if you have just bought your very first gun, and I'm going to speak mostly about handguns, but this will apply to a long gun such as a rifle or shotgun as well. But we have this is March, late March 2020. We all know what's going on, and there have recently been record numbers of brand new gun owners buying guns, which means there are a lot of people who don't have experience with guns, and they may not have any knowledge of guns, who are now gun owners and are in possession of a firearm. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that is just fine, but I think it is important that all of those people have access to good, clean, and brief information. So I am going to try and be brief, even though that is against my personality, because I do tend to run on at the mouth. But I'm going to focus on this video simply on the rules of gun safety, and I'm going to use these four. And it's easy to do a quick search and find a list of these rules, but I have learned through discussions with people that are brand new shooters and even some people who are seasoned shooters that these are not always as self-explanatory as we might think. So I'm going to explain to you how I interpret these four rules, what they mean to me, and what I think they should mean to you. Okay, I'm going to take that list out of the way so we can look at these two handguns. One is a revolver and one is a semi-automatic. And I just picked these two sort of randomly as they are general in nature. So you may have bought a revolver or you may have bought a semi-automatic. I just want to be able to demonstrate that it really doesn't matter which type of gun you have in terms of following the safety rules. Okay, so here they go. Rule number 1, treat every firearm as if it were loaded. And sometimes you'll hear it said, and sometimes you'll hear me say, all guns are loaded all the time. And what I mean when I say that, what folks generally mean when they say that is, you always treat every gun as if it were loaded, period. Even if you just unloaded it yourself and you know that it's not loaded, you still treat it as if it is. And the reason is pretty simple. If you're always treating a gun as if it is loaded, you're handling it properly, accidents are not going to happen. So if you're a brand new gun owner, your experience with guns may be simply watching TV and movies and seeing people handle guns in an entertainment way. Well, sometimes you're going to see it done well, and most of the time you're not going to see it done very well. Okay, so treating every gun as if it is loaded is something we'll come back and we'll kind of visit that again in summary, but we need to move through the other ones so we can understand how to treat that loaded gun. So rule number 2 is never point a gun at anything that you're not willing to destroy. Sometimes you'll see it phrased, anything you're not willing to kill. And that's certainly an impactful statement, and it is accurate. But if you point the gun at your television set and you shoot it and you destroy your television set, you're probably not going to be very happy. Even though no one was injured, still something was damaged. So I like to say, don't point it at anything you're not willing to destroy, whether that be a human life, an animal life, or an inanimate object. Rule number 3, and this is a biggie. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. In those movies and TV shows, you're going to see a whole lot of this. People running around with their fingers in the trigger guard, on the trigger, all the time. And that is a no-no, period. Here's what I'd like you to do. You see a gun laying on the table, and I tell you, hey, go pick up that gun and move it over to the other side of the table. Some simple task. Okay? Instead of going over and grabbing the gun like this, right, and picking it up, which is what most people will intuitively do, practice it this way. All right, so everybody had their little gun hand when they were a kid. You know, this was your gun. You know, pew, pew, pew. All right, so keep that. Take this gun hand, turn it this way, and now just open those fingers, these ones, so that you can pick up this gun, but leave these two, the thumb and forefinger, exactly the way they are. Reach down, pick up the gun. You are automatically doing it exactly right. So remember, you want to pick up a handgun? Use your handgun hand. Pick up the handgun. Your finger, your trigger finger should always be straight, like it's in a splint, and it should be high up on the frame or even touching the slide of a semi-automatic. If it's a revolver, it should be high up on the lower part of the frame or even up touching the cylinder. Okay, you want to be able to see that entire trigger and see that there's nothing touching it from either side. If I'm holding a gun this way and you can't see my trigger finger, that's good, because that means it's not on the trigger, it's nowhere near it. So that's the best way to keep your finger off the trigger, and just get in that habit. Just practice it over and over and make it a habit. Every time you handle the firearm, that's how you pick it up, and that's how you will always hold it until you are actually ready to shoot. Number 4, be sure of your target and what's behind it. Kind of a two-parter. So number 1, be sure of your target. Well, that hopefully is pretty meaningful on its own, right? You better be sure, if you are going to point a gun at something, that something, whatever you're pointing at, has become your target, whether it's an intentional target or not. So you need to be certain of that. And then you need to be sure of what's behind it. Because again, unlike TV and movies, bullets often pass through one person and into another. They often pass through walls. They can pass through car doors, certainly through car windows. So you need to know what is behind the target that you intend to shoot. All right, so to wrap that up and sort of tie all those together now, if I am going to treat every gun as if it were loaded, that really is, I could just say that's the only rule you have to remember, as long as you know what those other things mean. So if I know that you've been taught the 4 rules and you've been able to repeat them back, so I know you understand them, and if I just say to you, hey, treat that gun as if it's loaded, that should be enough. You should know what that means, right? That means, number 1, I am not going to touch the trigger under any circumstances unless I am actually ready to fire this gun. Number 2, I am not going to point this gun at anyone or anything that I do not intend to kill or destroy. Number 3, I'm going to make sure that I know that if I do have to use this weapon and point it at someone who has become my target, I need to be sure that that target is the threat, and I need to be sure that I know what is behind it. Okay, that was a quick tour of the rules of gun safety. And again, they apply to not only both kinds of handguns that you see here, but they apply to rifles and shotguns as well. Same exact rules apply. So if you're a new gun owner, you have just taken a very, in my opinion, a very important and meaningful step toward your own sense of responsibility and being able to account for your own safety. So please do that safely, be responsible, and don't be a threat to someone else. Be safe, stay healthy, take care.